Hello students. My name is Tom. In this video, we will together learn about A. Modal auxiliaries. Will, can, etc. B. Statement connected with, and to, and either, and but. Notice the forms and meanings of the modal auxiliaries. For example, 1. We'll read the book tomorrow. 2. John can play the piano very well. 3. The students can smoke in the hall. 4. The students may smoke in the hall. 5. John may receive a letter today. 6. John might receive a letter today. 7. John should study every day. 8. Mr. Smith must be about 40 years old. 9. Mary must study tonight. In expressing future time, will means about the same as be going to. For example, I'll study the book tomorrow. I'm going to study the book tomorrow. In addition, will is sometimes used to indicate consent, or, with a negative, refusal. For example, will you help me? Yes, I will. None of my friends will lend me money. The auxiliary shall is used with the subject we, in formal style, to indicate future time. Notice, however, that in questions, the meanings of shall and will are different. For example, will we go to Boston? Shall we go to Boston? Only one modal is permitted in a single verb phrase. I presume you are able to run fast can be expressed as you must be able to run fast. Or I presume you can run fast. But it is not English to say you must can run fast. The past of can is could. For example, now she can speak 3 languages. Last year, she could speak only 1. But do not use could for a single event in the past. To say, we succeeded in visiting the British Museum, you should use, we were able, rather than, we could. For example, when we were in London, we were able to visit the British Museum. Exercise 1. Form sentences using the modals. For example, Paul is going to write a letter tomorrow. Paul will write a letter tomorrow. George is able to speak French very well. George can speak French very well. The students have permission to smoke in the hall. The students may smoke in the hall. It is possible that George will go to Chicago. George might go to Chicago. Mary ought to write to her parents. Mary should write to her parents. It is very probable that the girls are studying. The girls must be studying. Paul has to take an exam next week. Paul must take an exam next week. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Examples of must meaning inference, conclusion, or reasonable supposition. Juan is from Mexico. He must speak Spanish. George plays the piano very well. He must practice a lot. George knows everyone in the class. Therefore, he must know Paul. Paul recently finished high school. Therefore, he must be about 18 years old. Helen lived in Japan for 10 years. She must speak Japanese. Statements. For example, Mr. Miller won't go to Chicago tomorrow. Paul can't speak French. You may not drive without a license. Paul might not go to George's house tonight. Children shouldn't play with matches. Children mustn't play with matches. May not and might not are not usually contracted. Cannot is usually written as one word. Exercise 2. Make negative statements about Mary. For example, George can go. Mary can't go. George should go. Mary shouldn't go. George may go out today. Mary may not go out today. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. A note on negative statements containing have to and must. The following sentences have the same meaning. For example, he has to go equals he must go. However, the corresponding negative sentences do not have the same meaning. For example, he doesn't have to go is not the same as he mustn't go. In sentence 3, the entire phrase have to go is negated. It means no necessity to go. But in sentence 4, must is affirmative and only go has been negated. It means necessity not to go. Must not is usually not contracted when must has the meaning of inference or reasonable supposition. For example, she must not be a student here. Exercise 3. Change the statements into yes or no questions. Another student will give a short answer. For example, Mary can play the piano. Student A. Can Mary play the piano? Student B. Yes, she can. Or, no, she can't. John will study tomorrow. Student C. Will John study tomorrow? Student E. Yes, he will. Or, no, he won't. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Exercise 4. Listen to the statements. Form questions using who, what, where, etc. Another student will answer according to the situation. For example, situation: John will sell his car tomorrow. Who? Student A: WHO will sell his car tomorrow. Student B: John. What? Student A: What will John sell tomorrow? Student B: His car. When? Student A: When will John sell his car? Student B: Tomorrow. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Notice the affirmative statements connected with "in" and "to." For example, Helen is going to play tennis, and Alice is too. George wrote a letter, and Paul did too. We have to take an exam, and they do too. Exercise 5. Listen to the two statements. Connect them with "in" and "to." For example, John can speak English. Mary can speak English. John can speak English, and Mary can too. He has to learn Spanish. She has to learn Spanish. He has to learn Spanish, and she does too. He is studying it now. She is studying it now. He is studying IT now, and she is too. He studied French last year. She studied French last year. He studied French last year, and she did too. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Notice the negative statements connected with "in" and "either." For example, Alice isn't going to eat in the restaurant, and Helen isn't either. Paul wasn't hungry, and George wasn't either. Mr. Smith didn't forget the address, and Mrs. Ford didn't either. Homework isn't always easy, and examinations aren't either. Exercise 6. For example, George doesn't sing well. Paul doesn't sing well. George doesn't sing well, and Paul doesn't either. George didn't play tennis yesterday. Paul didn't play tennis yesterday. George didn't play tennis yesterday, and Paul didn't either. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Exercise 7. Practice in 2, and either. For example, George read a good book last night. Alice read a good book last night. George read a good book last night, and Alice did too. George isn't hungry. Alice isn't hungry. George isn't hungry, and Alice isn't either. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Notice the statements, which are connected with but. For example, 1. John is going to go, but Mary isn't. 2. John can play the piano, but Mary can't. 3. John went, but Mary didn't. 4. Mary wasn't here, but John was. 5. Mary can't play the piano, but John can. 6. Mary didn't go, but John did. Exercise 8. Join the two sentences with but. Omit part of the second predicate, as shown in the examples. John is tired. George isn't tired. John is tired, but George isn't. John won't go. George will go. John won't go, but George will. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Exercise 9. Summary exercise. For example, he can go to the party. His friends can go to the party. He can go to the party, and his friends can too. He doesn't wear a hat. His friends don't wear a hat. He doesn't wear a hat, and his friends don't either. John can't play the piano. Mary can play the piano. John can't play the piano, but Mary can. Now, please do the following exercise. You can pause your video until you finish the exercise. Well done, students. You have finished chapter or lesson 11. I hope you enjoy it, and keep practicing. See you again. Bye.